Chosen one, stop for a moment and hear this with your whole spirit awake, because what I'm about to say will hit you in the first breath. What if the separation that broke your heart was not abandonment, but alignment? What if the exit you didn't understand was not loss, but the doorway Jesus himself opened to protect your destiny? What if heaven has been orchestrating something behind the scenes that you were never meant to see until now? This is the break that heaven designed, and in the next few minutes, you and I are going to walk straight into Genesis 13 with a clarity that will stir your spirit, heal old wounds, and awaken divine understanding inside you. I'm going to give you one concrete promise right now. If you stay with me to the end of this message, you will walk away with revelation about why certain relationships ended, why certain doors closed, why peace suddenly mattered more than possession, and why God is positioning you for new territory, new vision, and a new beginning rooted in finding purpose. And chosen one, before we go deeper, I want to pause and thank you. Truly, thank you for being here, for seeking God, for opening your heart, and for walking this journey with Spiritual Journals. If you haven't already, subscribe to Spiritual Journals and turn on notifications so together we can spread God's word, lift his people, and awaken the chosen ones around the world. Now lean in, because once you understand this chapter, your entire view of separation, alignment, and destiny will never be the same.
Genesis chapter 13. Abram and Lot separate. So Abram went up from Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the Negeb. Now Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver and in gold, and he journeyed on from the Negeb as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place where he had made an altar at the first. And there Abram called upon the name of the Lord. And Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, so that the land could not support both of them dwelling together, for their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. At that time the Canaanites and the Perizzites were dwelling in the land. Then Abram said to Lot, "Let there be no strife between you and me, and between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, for we are kinsmen. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself from me. If you take the left hand, then I will go to the right, or if you take the right hand, then I will go to the left." And Lot lifted up his eyes and saw that the Jordan Valley was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt in the direction of Zoar. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself all the Jordan Valley, and Lot journeyed east. Thus they separated from each other. Abram settled in the land of Canaan, while Lot settled along the cities of the valley and moved his tent as far as Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were wicked, great sinners against the Lord. The Lord said to Abram after Lot had separated from him, "Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward, for all the land that you see I will give to you and to your offspring forever. I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth, so that if one can count the dust of the earth, your offspring also can be counted. Arise, walk through the length and the breadth of the land, for I will give it to you." So Abram moved his tent and came and settled by the oaks of Mamre, which are at Hebron, and there he built an altar to the Lord.
Sometimes separation is God's strategy for elevation. And chosen one, I want you to breathe that in gently, slowly, with a spirit that is open and ready to receive comfort. When Abram and Lot began the journey together, it felt right for that season. They shared the same path, the same memories, the same miles under the same desert sky. But as the journey continued, the space between them became tight, crowded, too small for what God was shaping inside Abram. The conflict between their herdsmen wasn't a collapse. It wasn't a sign that something had gone wrong. It was heaven whispering, "You've outgrown this place." It was a divine nudge, a holy transition, a moment where God allowed friction to create movement. And maybe that's where you find yourself today, looking at a separation, a distance, a goodbye you didn't want to face, and wondering why empty spaces suddenly feel so loud. But God is teaching you what He taught Abram. Not every person who walks with you into your early chapters is meant to appear in your next. Some hearts can love you for the beginning, but aren't equipped for your becoming. Some connections feel familiar, but cannot carry the weight of the destiny unfolding inside you. And here's the gentle truth your heart needs. Separation is not always betrayal. Sometimes it is alignment. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes it is God removing what cannot survive where He is taking you next. Abram didn't push Lot away. Abram didn't fight for control. Abram simply allowed God's plan to unfold. In the moment Lot stepped out of Abram's shadow, the promise had room to breathe, stretch, and rise. God is showing you the same pattern. There are moments in your life when the letting go you feared becomes the doorway to finding purpose. What felt like loss becomes the soil where destiny takes root. What looked like abandonment becomes the path to divine promotion. Sometimes you don't know how much you're growing until God removes what kept you planted in the familiar. And sometimes you don't see how much you were shrinking until God gently lifts someone out of your story. Separation can feel painful, but purpose often begins right where comfort ends. Think about Joseph. The coat his father gave him was beautiful, but it could not go where God was taking him. That coat was stripped before the palace was given. Think about Jesus. He fed the multitudes, healed the crowds, spoke to thousands, but when it was time to step into the fullness of His mission, only a handful walked with Him, and even they couldn't climb every mountain He climbed. Think about Gideon. God reduced his army, not to weaken him, but to purify the path to victory. Sometimes fewer people mean greater clarity. Sometimes emptier rooms mean fuller revelation. Sometimes God removes voices so you can finally hear His. And maybe what you call separation is actually the gentle hand of God clearing the space around your heart so you can breathe again. Maybe the silence you feel is not rejection, but preparation. Maybe the emptiness isn't punishment, but the holy beginning of finding purpose in a deeper way. You are not losing people. You are being positioned. You are being refined. You are being elevated into a season where only those aligned with your calling can remain. And here's something your spirit may not have considered. When Lot left Abram, God spoke. Heaven did not release the next instruction until the separation took place. This means some clarity will not arrive until certain company departs. Some blessings cannot be delivered until certain energies are removed. Some promises cannot grow in crowded places. God loves you too deeply to let you stay connected to what limits your purpose. He loves you too deeply to let you shrink just to keep others comfortable. And He loves you enough to break what needed breaking so your spirit could rise again. So if someone has stepped out of your life, if a season closed faster than you expected, if a friendship faded without explanation, if a relationship unraveled even though you tried your best, breathe. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not being abandoned. You are being aligned. You are not falling apart. You are being lifted higher than you can see from here. And here's the soft cliffhanger your spirit needs to hold close. What if the person who left wasn't a loss at all, but a signal that your next level is arriving? What if their exit is heaven's announcement that you are stepping into a chapter you could not enter if they had stayed? What if this separation is not the end, but the gentle sunrise of a new beginning God has been waiting to reveal. Hold that truth with tenderness, because sometimes, chosen one, separation is not a heartbreak. It is God's whisper saying, "Rise. I'm taking you somewhere your old circle cannot follow." And in that rising, you will find purpose in ways you never imagined.
Peace is more valuable than possession. And chosen one, I want you to let that truth settle gently into the tender places of your heart. Abram stood in a moment where everything inside him could have risen up to fight. He could have argued for land, justified his rights, demanded what looked fair. He could have made a case strong enough to convince anyone watching that the land belonged to him. But instead, Abram chose peace. Not passive peace, not silence rooted in fear, but a sacred peace anchored in faith and healing. The kind of peace that says, "God, I trust you more than I trust this moment." Abram teaches us something deeply divine. Peace is never weakness. Peace is strength wrapped in surrender. Peace is courage dressed in humility. Peace is faith stretched far enough to let God be the defender instead of your own determination. You never lose when you choose peace. You may feel like you step back, but heaven calls it stepping up. You may feel like you let something go, but grace calls it making room for something bigger. Letting go of being right is sometimes the real spiritual victory, because some arguments wound the soul more than they heal the conflict. Some battles drain the spirit more than they protect the blessing. And sometimes clinging to being right keeps your heart too full to receive what God is trying to pour in. When Abram chose peace, he wasn't choosing the lesser path. He was choosing the higher one. He wasn't walking away from blessing. He was walking toward healing. He wasn't surrendering his future. He was aligning it with God's timing. Scripture shows us again and again that peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of God in the middle of choices that shape your destiny. Think about David. He could have killed Saul in the cave, proved his innocence, claimed his rightful throne, but he chose peace. He chose restraint over revenge. He chose honor over victory. And that choice shaped him into a king with a healed heart rather than a king haunted by regret. Think about Jesus. He stood silent before accusations, choosing peace over proving his worth. He allowed himself to be misunderstood because his purpose was greater than their opinion. Peace was his weapon, his posture, his pathway to resurrection. Peace is powerful. Peace heals what anger cannot reach. Peace restores what striving often shatters. Peace strengthens what fear tries to weaken. And God always honors the peacemakers with greater inheritance later. Abram surrendered position, surrendered land, surrendered the right to fight. But heaven saw it. Heaven recorded it. Heaven responded to it. And the God who sees in secret rewarded him with the promise so vast that no land dispute could have compared. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs are wrapped in the most unexpected choices, like choosing peace when your emotions are begging you to defend yourself. And here is the gentle but holy truth for your spirit. Choosing peace doesn't just protect your heart, it invites God into your situation. Choosing peace says, "God, I trust you to fight for me. I trust you to vindicate me. I trust you to open what no one can shut and shut what no one can open. I trust you enough to release what I cannot control." Peace is an act of faith and healing. Faith that God is already working behind the scenes. Healing that begins the moment you stop carrying the battle in your own strength. Peace is not laziness. Peace is not avoidance. Peace is surrender, soaked in confidence that God sees more than you see, knows more than you know, and holds more than you can carry. And maybe you've been carrying something heavy, hurt from someone's words, frustration from a situation that feels unfair, the ache of not being understood. And maybe your heart has been tempted to fight for possession, for validation, for clarity, for justice that seems delayed. But chosen one, hear this softly. Every time you choose peace over proving yourself, heaven moves. Every time you choose gentleness over anger, you make room for healing. Every time you choose faith in God's timing over fighting for your own, you unlock something greater than the victory you were chasing. Think about the woman with the issue of blood. She didn't fight the crowd. She didn't demand space. She didn't push people down to get to Jesus. She simply reached with peace in her heart and faith in her soul. And in that peaceful reach, healing flowed. Peace and faith always walk hand in hand. Peace opens the door. Faith steps through it. Peace calms the heart. Faith lifts the spirit. Peace silences fear. Faith releases miracles. And now here is the gentle but holy cliffhanger your spirit needs to hold close. What if choosing peace today is unlocking the promotion you couldn't access yesterday? What if the moment you stop fighting to be understood, God begins lifting you into a level where understanding doesn't even matter? What if the thing you're letting go of is the very key that frees your heart to receive the breakthrough waiting just ahead? Sometimes peace is the step that unlocks the season you've been praying for. Sometimes peace is the proof that your heart is ready for the next blessing. And sometimes peace is the quiet miracle that brings faith and healing into places you didn't know were hurting. So breathe deeply, chosen one. Release the tension. Release the need to fight every battle. Lean into peace with the certainty that God is already holding the outcome. And trust that peace is leading you somewhere possession never could.
What looks good is not always God. And chosen one, this is a breakthrough message your spirit has been waiting to hear. Because like Lot, we all have moments where our eyes see something that looks green, promising, comfortable, easy. Something that looks like it will solve everything quickly. Something that looks like the answer you've been praying for. Lot lifted his eyes and saw the green fields, the land that shimmered under the sunlight, the opportunity that made sense on paper. It looked good. It looked safe. It looks successful. But what looks good is not always God. And Abram, instead of choosing by sight, chose by faith. Abram didn't rush. He didn't cling to the land that looked impressive. He didn't grab the choice spot. He simply trusted that whatever God had for him would find him. It didn't have to sparkle. It didn't have to be obvious. It didn't have to be the land everyone else would have chosen. Abram knew that God's plan doesn't depend on appearances. And with that quiet, steady faith, Abram avoided a path that would have trapped him. Meanwhile, Lot walked toward comfort and unknowingly walked toward Sodom, a place wrapped in compromise, hidden danger, and silent destruction. Things were not as shiny as they first appeared. And that's exactly where God's gentle voice comes to meet you. This is His whisper to your heart. The easy path is not always the blessed path. The attractive offer is not always the divine one. The opportunity that impresses everyone else might not be the one that strengthens you. Sight gives you short-term gain, but faith gives you long-term destiny. And here's where this story takes on deeper meaning. When Eve looked at the fruit in the garden, Scripture says it looked pleasing to the eye. It didn't look poisonous, it didn't look dangerous, it didn't look destructive. But just because something looks appealing does not mean it carries God's approval. And when Samuel went to anoint the next king after Saul, he saw Eliab and thought, surely this is the one. He looked strong, he looked kingly, he looked right. But God said, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. That verse is not just about people, it's about decisions. God sees the outcome behind the curtain. God sees the spirit behind the surface. God sees the direction behind the opportunity. And God sees what you cannot see. Decisions made by sight lead you into trouble, but decisions made by faith
lead you into covenant, stability, protection, and divine alignment. Faith doesn't always look exciting at first. Faith doesn't always sparkle. Faith doesn't always shout. Sometimes faith looks like choosing the quiet path. Sometimes faith looks like waiting when everyone else is rushing. Sometimes faith looks like trusting when nothing makes sense yet. But here's the breakthrough message hidden in this story. The path that does not look impressive now often becomes the place where God performs his greatest miracles.
Moses didn't look impressive to Pharaoh. David didn't look impressive next to his brothers. Bethlehem didn't look impressive next to Jerusalem. The manger didn't look impressive next to the palace. The cross didn't look impressive compared to a throne. But God specializes in using what looks small to create something eternal. God specializes in choosing what looks ordinary to release something extraordinary. God specializes in taking what doesn't look good to the world and turning it into the very place where destiny is born. And maybe that's what he's doing with you. Maybe the door that closed wasn't rejection, it was rescue. Maybe the opportunity that slipped away wasn't a loss, it was protection. Maybe the relationship that didn't work out wasn't failure. It was God shielding your heart from someone who would have drained your spirit. Maybe the thing that looked good is the very thing God kept from you because he loves you too deeply to let you settle for less than his best. God isn't trying to withhold joy from you. God isn't trying to complicate your life. God isn't trying to make your journey harder. God is trying to protect your destiny. God is trying to lead you to covenant. God is trying to place you in what will last, not in what will crumble. This is where faith steps in like a quiet friend holding your hand. Faith says, I don't need to see the whole picture to trust the one who paints it. Faith says, if God says wait, I will wait. If God says no, I will trust that no. If God redirects me, I will follow his voice. Faith says, what is meant for me will never require me to compromise to keep it. Faith says, God's timing is better than my rushing. God's protection is better than my pride. God's plan is better than my fear. And here is the soft but powerful cliffhanger for your spirit. What if the thing that looks good right now is the very thing God is protecting you from? What if the thing that felt like a missed opportunity was actually divine mercy? What if the path that looks ordinary is the one that holds your greatest miracle? What if the breakthrough message God is speaking over your life right now is simply this: trust me with what you cannot see, because my promise is bigger than what your eyes can measure. And chosen one, when you trust him beyond what looks good, you step into what is truly God.
God speaks after you let go. And chosen one, this is one of the most tender and transformative truths in all of Scripture. It is not just a statement about Abram. It is a picture of how God gently guides personal growth in the lives of those he loves. The verse says, "And the Lord said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him." That timing is not accidental. It is intentional, precise, loaded with meaning. God waited until Abram's hands were empty so he could fill them. God waited until Abram released the weight that was slowing him down so he could reveal the promise that was waiting to rise. And maybe that is exactly where you are. You've been wondering why heaven feels quiet, why direction feels blurry, why the next chapter hasn't opened yet. But chosen one, sometimes heaven waits until your hands are empty, because full hands cannot receive new blessings. God often delays the next instruction until you release what no longer belongs in your journey. The wrong relationship that drains your spirit, the wrong attachment that keeps you circling the same emotional mountain, the wrong partnership that looks good on the outside but pulls you away from your purpose on the inside, the wrong direction that felt familiar but not fruitful. Letting go activates revelation. Letting go clears spiritual frequency. Letting go isn't punishment, it is preparation. It is God making space for your personal growth. Think about Moses. He had to let go of Egypt before he could hear God speak from the burning bush. Think about Samuel.
He had to let go of mourning over Saul before he could hear God say, "I have chosen David." Think about Elijah. He had to let go of hiding in the cave before he could hear the still small voice. And think about the disciples. They had to let go of their nets before Jesus spoke the invitation that changed their lives. Letting go is not a loss. Letting go is a doorway. Letting go is a sacred reset that opens the flow of heaven's clarity. And sometimes the most painful release becomes the most beautiful beginning of personal growth. When Abram finally separated from Lot, he didn't just lose a companion. He gained perspective. He gained space. He gained silence where God's voice could finally be heard without interference. And maybe you've been holding something that God has tried to gently remove, not because He wants to take from you, but because He wants to give to you. Maybe there's a friendship that no longer fits the person you're becoming. Maybe there's a dream that belonged to an older version of you. Maybe there's a habit, a fear, a memory that has been sitting in the chair where your faith should rise. Maybe there's a season you're trying to keep alive long after God has declared it finished. And here is the tender truth. Personal growth often begins in the moment of release. It begins when you exhale what you've been gripping tightly. It begins when you surrender the weight that keeps you from rising. It begins when you choose peace over familiarity, purpose over comfort, faith over fear. God speaks after you let go because the noise decreases, the distractions loosen, the heart softens, the spirit becomes available again. And in that openness, God whispers things your busy heart could never hear. He whispers direction. He whispers healing. He whispers identity. He whispers promise. He whispers the kind of clarity that makes your spirit sit up straight and say, "That's what I've been waiting for." Letting go is not about losing people. It is about finding yourself. It is about stepping into a version of you that is lighter, clearer, stronger, and more aligned with the person God imagined when He shaped you in the womb. It is about personal growth blooming in the soil of surrender. When Abram let go, God didn't scold him. God didn't lecture him. God didn't remind him of the cost. God simply spoke. God gave him vision. God gave him land. God gave him promise. And God will do the same for you. When you release what drains you, God will reveal what grows you. When you release what confuses you, God will reveal what aligns you. When you release what distracts you, God will reveal what directs you. Letting go does not shrink your life, it expands your life. It clears the fog. It opens the path. It invites new chapters, new relationships, new opportunities, new spiritual awakenings. And here is the soft cliffhanger that sits gently in your spirit. What if God has been silent because you're still holding what He asked you to release? What if the thing you think you need is the very thing blocking the blessing you've been praying for? What if the moment you let go is the moment heaven finally speaks? Chosen one, God is not withholding clarity, He is waiting for space. And when you make that space, your personal growth will rise.
When you honor God, He expands your territory. And chosen one, this truth carries a depth your heart may be ready to receive in a new way. Because the moment Abram released Lot, the moment he honored God, not just with words, but with alignment, humility, and surrender, something holy happened. Heaven opened, God spoke, and His voice carried a promise so wide, so breathtaking, so overflowing that no human negotiation could ever produce it. God said, "Lift up your eyes. All the land that you see I will give to you." Not some land, not a portion, not the leftover pieces, all the land. Abundance, increase, overflow, territory that stretched farther than Abram could measure. And this is where your spirit needs comfort and confidence, because the same God who expanded Abram's territory is the God who is expanding yours. Your obedience today unlocks your inheritance tomorrow. Your surrendered heart creates space for doors you didn't even know existed. Your willingness to honor God, especially in private moments when no one sees your sacrifice, becomes the very seed God multiplies in ways your mind cannot yet imagine. And this is where financial abundance enters the story in a way many forget. Abram didn't chase wealth. He didn't manipulate blessings. He didn't fight to keep what wasn't aligned. He simply honored God. And because he honored God, abundance followed him. Wealth found him. Provision surrounded him like a river that refused to run dry. The Bible says Abram was very rich in silver and gold because the blessing of the Lord rested on him, not because he chased prosperity, but because he chased presence. That's the secret heaven wants you to hear in this moment. You don't chase territory. Territory begins to chase you. You don't chase opportunities. Opportunities begin to recognize your name. You don't chase financial abundance. Financial abundance begins to align with your obedience, your peace, your humility, your faithfulness. It is the difference between striving and receiving, between forcing and flowing, between panic and promise. When God expands territory, He doesn't just add more land. He adds more capacity, more influence, more wisdom, more stability, more peace, more provision, more spiritual grounding so that abundance doesn't crush you, but elevates you. Territory in the kingdom is never just physical. Territory includes the kind of financial abundance that isn't loud or flashy, but deeply anchored. Territory includes the blessing that reaches your family, multiplies through generations, and breaks cycles of lack. Territory includes mental clarity, emotional security, and spiritual strength. Territory includes open doors you didn't knock on and favor you didn't beg for. Abram honored God, and God responded with promise. And you, chosen one, are being positioned for the same thing. Maybe you've been faithful when it hurt. Maybe you gave when you had little. Maybe you prayed when you felt tired. Maybe you forgave when it seemed unfair. Maybe you honored God in secret seasons where no one ever saw your sacrifice, but heaven saw it. Heaven recorded it. Heaven remembers every moment. And the God who sees in secret rewards openly. He expands the territory of those who walk with Him even when the path feels uneven. He pours financial abundance on those who steward well the little they have before He multiplies it into more. He enlarges the borders of those who do not let bitterness shrink their faith. He widens the land of those who choose peace over proving themselves. Vision expands when the heart is aligned. This is why God told Abram to lift up his eyes, not to dream bigger, not to imagine harder, but to see what God had already prepared. Sometimes your eyes must rise before your life can rise. Sometimes your vision must expand before your territory expands. Sometimes your heart must align before your inheritance can be released. And maybe that's what God is doing in you. He is aligning your heart so your hands can carry what He is about to release. He is stretching your faith so your blessing doesn't overwhelm you. He is healing old wounds so they don't sabotage new opportunities. He is preparing you for financial abundance that flows with purpose, not pressure. Abundance that is rooted, not reckless. Abundance that empowers your calling, not distracts your soul. And here is the gentle but powerful cliffhanger heaven is whispering to you. What if your promised land is already prepared, already assigned, already waiting, but simply waiting for your heart to align? What if God is not delaying your breakthrough, but developing your character so your blessing can last? What if the expansion you've been praying for is standing at the door, waiting for the moment your spirit is steady enough to receive it? Chosen one, your territory is not limited. Your future is not shrinking. Your abundance is not denied. Honor God. Keep your heart soft. Keep your spirit aligned. because when honor rises, territory stretches. When surrender deepens, abundance multiplies. And when your heart aligns, your promised land arrives.
Build altars wherever God plants you, chosen one, because this is where the deepest kind of spiritual awakening begins. Abram didn't end the chapter with strategy, or with planning, or with arguing, or even with celebrating. He ended it with worship. He built an altar. He marked the moment. He paused long enough to say, God, you brought me here. God, you guided me. God, you kept me. God, you are worthy of being honored right here in this place. And that simple act of building an altar carried more power than any battle, any decision, any negotiation he had made along the way. Abram's altar wasn't made of fancy stones or perfect architecture. It was made of gratitude, surrender, awareness, presence. It was made of a heart that knew God was the one guiding the journey. And that's the invitation God extends to you too. Every step of your journey needs an altar, not because God demands sacrifice, but because your heart needs reminders. You need places where you pause long enough to breathe in what God has done. You need moments where you allow your soul to rest, your mind to slow down, your spirit to recognize His presence again. Worship keeps your spirit aligned. It centers you when life feels chaotic. It clears the fog when decisions feel heavy. It reminds you that you are not walking this path alone. Worship guards your clarity. It protects your mind from confusion. It pushes back the noise that tries to steal your peace. It reminds you that God is still speaking, still leading, still lighting the next step, even when the whole road feels dark. Worship protects your covenant. It shields you from drifting into self-reliance. It anchors you when distractions pull at your heart. It keeps the promise God placed inside you burning with fresh fire. Think about Noah. The very first thing he did after stepping out of the ark wasn't rebuilding society or planting crops. He built an altar. He worshiped God for carrying him through the storm. Think about Jacob. After wrestling through the night, after encountering God face to face, he built an altar and named the place, God is here. Think about Samuel. When God gave Israel victory over the Philistines, Samuel placed a stone and called it Ebenezer, saying, "Till now the Lord has helped us." Think of Mary. Her altar wasn't a stone or a place. It was her song, her surrender, her whispered yes to God's plan. Wherever there is an altar, there is protection. Not because the structure has power, but because the posture has power. When your heart bows before God, heaven stands up for you. Wherever there is an altar, there is direction. Worship positions you to hear God again. It tunes your heart to His voice. It makes you sensitive to His whispers. Worship is the light that removes shadows from the path you're walking. Wherever there is an altar, there is promise. Worship brings you back to the truth of what God has spoken. It reminds you that the promise hasn't expired. It reminds you that the delay isn't denial. It reminds you that what God began in you is still alive. And maybe what your heart needs right now is not more effort, not more striving, not more pushing through exhaustion. Maybe what your heart needs is an altar, a quiet place, a surrendered breath, a moment where you say, God, I'm here. Meet me right where I am. Because worship softens what pain made hard. Worship heals what stress has tightened. Worship opens what fear has closed. Worship lifts what heaviness has held down. Worship brings spiritual awakening into places where numbness tried to settle. Worship isn't just something you do on a good day. Worship is a refuge on the days you feel lost, tired, uncertain, or overwhelmed. It's where the soul remembers that God is not far away. He is near, He is present, He is steady, He is kind. And here is the final cliffhanger whispering gently into your spirit. What if your next breakthrough isn't waiting on effort, but on worship? What if the breakthrough you've been pushing for, praying for, crying for, is sitting on the other side of simply slowing down and lifting your heart toward God? What if the moment you worship, heaven begins to move in ways you couldn't make happen on your own? What if God is not asking you to fight harder, but to rest deeper in His presence? Chosen one, build altars wherever God plants you, in the quiet places, in the transitions, in the new beginnings, in the unknown seasons, because worship is where awakening happens. Worship is where strength returns. Worship is where victory begins long before you see it. Your breakthrough might not be waiting for more effort. Your breakthrough might be waiting for more presence, more surrender, more worship. And if you lift your heart in even the simplest song, heaven will meet you with more than you could ever imagine. Chosen one, as we come to the end of this message, let your heart rest in this truth. Your separation was holy. Every shift, every closed door, every unexpected goodbye was not God abandoning you, but God aligning you. He has been positioning you with tenderness, elevating you through peace, guiding you through faith, and anchoring you through worship. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of a positive mindset shaped by heaven's perspective rather than human pain. If this word stirred something deep inside you, pause and type in the comments, "I'm ready for God's alignment." Your declaration is a seed in the soil of your next season. If this message brought clarity or comfort to your spirit, I gently invite you to like this video. Your engagement helps us reach more chosen ones who need the same encouragement. And with a grateful heart, I ask you to subscribe to Spiritual Journals and turn on notifications so we can walk together in clarity, purpose, and prophetic insight. Your presence here means more than you know, and I thank God for every moment you've allowed me to speak into your journey. Now receive this blessing prayer. May the Lord bless your separation with meaning, bless your peace with protection, bless your choices with wisdom, bless your clarity with strength, and bless your next step with divine confidence. May your path shine brighter with each step you take, and may Jesus guide you with love that never fails. Your Abram moment is not coming. It has already begun.